I woke up naturally the next morning with high spirits. The fireplace next to me has gone out, leaving nothing but ash and dust. I hopped into my coat and walked outside. The sky was clear with some clouds and the air felt cool. That day, Meizhou was pretty cold, so I had to wear a few layers of clothing, and my trusty gloves kept my hands warm as well. Well, other than the poor fingertips. After my parents finished their morning routine, we were ready to leave for an adventure with tons of driving. A fun thing I noticed on this trip was that Meizhou does not have public bikes. Instead, they had these public scooters. Sadly, I'm not old enough to ride them, so I can only watch from afar. After a few more minutes in the car, I found another cool thing about Meizhou. Their street lights are grapefruits. Well, not actual grapefruits, mind you, but they are shaped that way, which I found pretty funny. Anyways, not long after we spotted the grapefruit streetlights, we arrived at a park. This park is surrounded by beautiful mountains and breathtaking lakes. As we walked down the pass, we had to cross a small stream where we hopped across on stepping stones. That is something that is pretty common in Meizhou, as we passed a few more while strolling around. We continued along the path, where we saw a traditional Chinese-style walkway. Whenever we see something interesting on this trip, you just know that we are going to check it out up close. And so we did. On the way back to the car, the wind was going absolutely nuts. As you can see in the video, my hair was blowing all over my face. What can I say? The wind gives you a natural hairstyle. Now that we are in the car, we set up the GPS and zoomed to the next destination. This time, we found ourselves in a different village. This village still has the stunning countryside views that can be seen all over Meizhou, as well as these nicely designed traditional Chinese buildings. Oh, and we saw some ducks as well. Not far from where we met the ducks, we found a sign pointing us to a memorial of another famous person. This time, the famous person is Lin Fengmian, a painter from Meizhou, known for mixing Chinese art styles with Western ones to create unique artworks. We stopped at his house first, visiting the yard and the room that Lin Fengmian stayed in. Inside, you can see his old furniture and read his introduction. Afterwards, we made our way over to Lin Fengmian's memorial hall. The design of this place is quite interesting and even features a pretty big pond near the entrance. Walking into the main building, we were immediately greeted by bronze statues and a self-introduction written by Lin Fengmian himself. There was also a timeline on the wall which was next to a cool painting of an entrance. Interesting. The timeline featured some important dates and events in the life of Lin Fengmian, which I found pretty informing. Past the timeline, we arrived at another bronze statue, this time featuring the Meizhou Sanjianke, or the Three Musketeers of Meizhou according to Google Translate. These three were the founders of the Chinese Art College. Does that sound familiar? Well, we actually visited the old house of Lin Wenzheng on the first day of this trip, and he was one of the musketeers. Pretty cool, right? Anyways, I went on to look at some pictures, paintings, and other items that were put on exhibit before we had to leave for the next destination. On the way back, we also passed by the ducks again. Oh, and we also had lunch, but I forgot to take footage. Oopsies. Our next destination ended up being the place that we were staying at. We decided that after a day of walking and driving, a bit of rest is just what we needed, and so we slept. Well, in reality, my family slept, and I just sat outside and played with a punching bag. Before long, everybody woke up while the sun was starting to set. Kids were doing kid things and roaming around, while the adults started the fire to cook a duck. These are not the ducks we saw before, just in case you're wondering. While the adults were being productive, I just did this. And this. And before I could finish saying the word oh my god! Pneumono ultramicroscopic silicovolcanoconiosis, at least I think that's how it's pronounced, the duck was cooked and we started to eat. We were absolutely stuffed at the end, so everyone decided that a walk in the streets would be just what we need. And so we hopped back into the car and drove to the street full of shops and cool lanterns. It was pretty cold at night, so I was in a thick coat to keep me from freezing to death. We passed by many shops, and we found a few corgis too. Cute. Oh, and there was also this guy that tried posing to the camera, but I zoomed in at the exact time, so shout out to him, I guess? We eventually found ourselves in a dessert shop to stop for some snow cones and to rest our tired legs. After devouring the little snack, I teleported back home and went to bed.